welcome back to Tactics Talk with Guido. Thanks for tuning in. In this episode, I've got the KV-13, one of the more forgotten about tanks in this game, a Tier 7 Soviet medium tank. And it occupies a weird place on the tech tree. It's not really a tank you must go through to get through other tanks. It is a crossroads tank, if you will. You can pass through it to get to others. But often it's a sideways move from Tier 7 to Tier 7, so a lot of people don't really go through the KV-13. Now you can cross some of the lines to do it by going through the KV-13, but usually people are blitzing straight up. So it turns out it's a tank that's not used very much, and that's too bad, because it's actually a fantastic little Tier 7. I went through it years ago when I went up the first Soviet lines, probably 3 or 4 years ago, so I haven't really touched it much since then. In fact, I have just recently rebought it. One of the reasons is I kept running into it every once in a while, in randoms out there, and it always surprised me how bouncy the armor was on this thing. So that's one of its strengths. It actually has some pretty fantastic armor for a little Tier 7. A decently punchy little gun with a pretty good reload and okay accuracy. So it's actually kind of a good all-rounder with even a little bit of trollish armor to throw in. It's nothing you would rely on constantly, but it can be pretty good. So I have loaded into Pilsen. I'm in a platoon with Rocket and the Kaiser, Souza. We are headed over to, or at least I am at this point, headed over to the west side. And I'm going to go fight in the factories down here, which is something I do quite a bit. You'll see a lot of my videos from Pilsen will have me down here brawling with the big boys, almost no matter what I'm driving. Over on the east side is relatively useless. It's very exposed to arty. And unless you have a lot of guys together and can push hard, the whole flanking opportunity up there is fairly limited. And from both spawns, getting back to spawn to defend spawn is extremely easy from down here in these lower factories. So really, the flanking idea is of limited value. Now, I am in a pretty good medium platoon, so if you were going to do that flanking act, this is the kind of setup to do it in. We just decided not to. And of course, I also forgot that one of us is in a 122-44, which is the reason we decided not to. So I'll just load gold because I know I'm going to run into the bigger, heavier tanks down here. And you'll see that I punch a couple through the T-29 and then missed one right there. We got a pretty good scrum going on, so let's take a look at this and break it down just a second here. Pretty standard spot where I went to, a good spot if you're in a pretty fast tank to get there, get set up, aim in where I aimed in right there, and shoot guys that just poke around the corner. You see, though, that we're all kind of stacked up in the middle right here, and I've got my two allies over here looking down this longer corridor. A couple TDs in the back being relatively useless, and some guys messing around up here. Now, this looks bad, so we're probably going to lose over here on the west side, so that does need to be kept an eye on. But our outside flank right here, other than this IKV, is not really being watched. Fortunately, he's kind of there, and we got some guys that have pushed around, and they're lighting these guys up. So we do have a problem potentially of getting flanked on this side because we just don't have much back here holding it. So let's see how that actually turns out. You'll see that in a moment when I kind of recognize what's going on there, I'll decide to take my tank around the other side. These guys are doing a decent job of just poking out a little bit, side scraping, and now I'm thinking, well, I need to get over onto that corridor and see what I can do. If I can get past these two without them shooting me, that will be very good. So I'm kind of watching them, seeing when they shoot, who they're shooting at, and off we go. So they're busy enough with that Mod 1 in their face that I feel like I can cross there without getting hit. So I've got to watch here, obviously, for TDs down in the end. I see this 3002M, take a shot. There's that bit of camera wonkiness as I zoomed back and zoomed out. Because I have something over top of me, the camera sometimes has issues with that, and you can see that it shot my camera view straight down into the ground. Good news is that the RHM has exposed himself by firing. I see him, and now he's pushing back. And that's the TD I was talking about a little bit earlier. That's the kind of thing you want to watch out for right there. And it looks like artillery, probably the 304 since it didn't really splash me. And I'm going to move in and try to help this IS-3 take down the Super Pershing. So I'm going to come at him, put a couple shots into him, one bounces. I'm going to put my front armor to him. And you'll see that it doesn't really hold up to the Super Pershing. It kind of goes right through it at that range. Looking at my turret, take a couple more shots there, and I am able to, because we out DPM him and fire fast enough, take him down without losing more than one hit of damage to him. Now I need to be careful here because I see the IS-3s going in, He goes after him. I come out. I shoot. I bounce. I take a hit and get tracked. And then I'm just going to push in on these guys. Unfortunately, take another hit. I bounce off the corner, but I do get a track on him. And now I can use some of these dead tank hulks to kind of protect myself. The T-29 goes down. There goes the Tiger P. Get some assist damage. And now I'm going to tuck up into this rubble right here because I really don't want to get hammered by this oh-ho. He takes a shot. That's my chance to come out, but he gets killed by the IS-3. And now I bounce off the gun of an RHM. Outstanding. And still pretty even here. You can see that we have lost over on the cap side. On the east side, as I talked about, they were able to push in there. So rather than leave this RHM behind us, and because we have a few guys back there taking them on right now, and I have decent speed, I decided to move in here and let's take out this RHM first, and then I'll head back. Little ram on this guy. RHMs are just really soft, light targets. Nearly anything can ram them to death. So take a shot inbound and just ram them, take them out. Artillery hits the Tiger P, and I'll dive back into the factories here so that the artillery has a harder time hitting me. I recently had another video where kind of a similar situation. The cap was threatened, and I went ahead and went after the artillery, but I could see that the IS-3 and the Tiger P really had no intention of turning around in this case. So rather than me go after the arty, I head up here towards the cap. Plus, in this situation, I felt like the cap was a little more threatened in that last video based on what they had pushing in here. An E25, an IKV, and a Skoda T25. I'll spit that out. Kind of make a decision to go right, but then the guy dies over the E25, and the T25's on this side, so kind of a bad move on my part. Just took me a lot longer to get in here and get my gun going. And I'm just going to push in. Take him. Auto-aim the IKV. Trying to get a ram. These things are kind of zippy, these IKVs, so I do get a piece of them, but it's not enough to kill him. I end up tracking myself and then get the kill on that guy. So it ends up being 4 kills, 2,300. This is an ace tanker, but it's a relatively low experience. I want to say it's around 1,100. I'll put the results up here in a minute. Which is something you'll find with some of the lesser played tanks. A lot of times the requirements for ace tankers will be a little bit lower than than tanks that are played a lot more by a lot of good players for known to be OP kind of tanks. But take a look at some of these other tanks, KV-13 in particular, but some of the other ones that you haven't played very much or aren't very popular tanks. Sometimes there's actually some diamonds in the rough down buried into the tech trees. So there you have it, KV-13 ace tanker rocking the lower factories with the medium mid-tier. I hope this helped you out there. I hope you like what you see. If you do, make sure you subscribe to the channel and support it. And as always, we will see you.